it's your girl Timothy. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you're a returning subscriber. Oh my gosh, I dropped my first ever YouTube video a month ago and then I haven't posted since. It seems like I just posted and dipped, but I promise guys, that was not my intentions at all. My boyfriend and I took a somewhat spontaneous trip to Thailand, so I've been traveling around Thailand for about 3 weeks, and then with planning and then, you know, getting reacclimatized when I returned back home. It's been a doozy, okay? And this is also my third attempt at filming this video because my allergies have not been agreeing with me at all. The first time I tried filming this, my eyes and nose were just streaming. And the second time I filmed this video, same kind of thing. And I also had a migraine, so the energy was just low. And I don't want to give you guys some low energy content. It seems I've been gone for so long. So yeah, with that being said, I do just want to put this out there. If I do sound like quite rough or hoarse throughout this video, please bear with me guys. My allergies still are not agreeing with me at all. I don't know what it is that's triggering this kind of reaction from me. But yeah, we're just gonna get this show on a road, try and get the story time out for you guys. I've been so excited to give you guys a story time. I've been thinking about this for the longest. Y'all actually voted for the story over on my Instagram. If you're not already following me over on Instagram, whenever I do a story time, I want to take a vote because I want to know what y'all want to hear. So if you're not following me on Instagram already, go ahead and follow me over there. All of my socials are linked in the description box of this video. So yeah, I can already preempt that this is going to be quite a long video with the detail that I'm wanting to go in for this story time. So I just want to kind of go ahead and hop right into it. Alright y'all, so boom! As you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be telling you guys a story time on the time that I was stalked in high school. With that being said, I do just want to give a quick content warning that this story time does contain threats of SA. If you think that is at all too much for you, please click off of this video. Alright guys, so this story takes place when I am like around freshly turned 15 years old. It's 2015, I'm in high school, you get the picture. At this point when I'm in high school, we do have all kind of forms of social media, so like Snapchat, Instagram, you name it, we had it. But the main one that we all had when I was in high school at this point was Facebook. Everybody had Facebook, everyone was using Facebook. It was like still a very fresh and popular app that everyone seemed to be using. Around the time of this story time, people also started using another app called Kiwi, which connected to your Facebook, so it would like sync your friends together. And if you don't know what Kiwi is, it is a question and answers app. So you would send questions and you would get them answered, vice versa. And you could also send anonymous questions as well. If anyone knows what Ask FM is, I'm so sorry if you do, because it seems like no one has a good story from that. And just sidetracking a little bit here, guys, I do not know why, I cannot tell you, but anytime I've had any kind of question and answers app where you can send anonymous questions or like has an anonymity feature, I seem to get re-traumatized all over again. And I had the same thing on Ask FM before I even had Kiwi. Don't ask me why I got Kiwi after I had that experience, but I did. But you live and learn. I didn't learn then, but I have learned now. Okay, so anywhoosies, that's Kiwi, just a question and answers app. You send questions, you can send anonymous questions, whatever, that's the whole deal. If I'm being completely honest with you, me and my friends would mainly use Kiwi just to kind of like talk back and forth to each other, like publicly on our pages. Like, so we would like send each other like questions, but it would just be like a message, and like our friend would like respond and it would like appear on their page and it would like alert you that they've replied to your question or your message or whatever. And that's mainly what we would use it for. I remember once I did actually use the anonymous feature. There was this boy that I liked, and I sent him a message anonymously, and it literally just said, "I like you." And he responded back and he was like, "Who is this?" And I just never replied. Just sidetracking a little bit here as well, he actually did call me ugly like a year or two prior to my face as well.
Was he saying to me, you wanna get a Glasgow kiss? I could say that with you too, so it goes. The fuck? I ain't ugly.
Then we left school, he kept messaging me like, hey, hi, and stuff. I just never ever responded. Like, I left him on red. Be careful who you call ugly, because we never forget, okay? Anyways, I'm using Kiwi, everything's fine, everything's normal, you know, we're all kiki, ha-haing with each other, being goofy on the app, nothing exciting, we're just goofing around, okay? Until one day, I received a message, and it was sent anonymously, And I remember this message because it literally is the start of this whole saga. And all it said is, "Are you ticklish?" Okay, now that would be like a completely normal question to ask someone, I think. That would be like a completely normal question to ask someone if the story just ended here. But it doesn't. So I respond to that something like, "It depends." And then I get another anonymous message from them. Oh, and by the way, all the messages that I'm referring to here from this mystery person are sent anonymously. So just for the sake of me not repeat myself over and over again, all their messages are sent anonymously. So I receive another message from them after this, and it literally just says, "I'm going to tickle your feet." Now,
Okay.
anyone who like knows me knows that I do not like my feet being like tickled in that manner. Like, you know, some people like it. I definitely am not one of them. I have like this reflex where I'll just either like tuck my leg like right in or I'll kick you. And I had this friend in high school. She was like one of my best friends. We was like really close, and we're gonna call her Alicia. I thought that it was her who had sent me this message because I remember some time back we had a sleepover with each other, and she did fall victim to me being like a bucking horse, okay, because she touched my feet. So anyways, I sent a screenshot of this over to Alicia, and I literally just say, "Is this you?" with like laughing faces, because like I was thinking it's just her like messing around with me. And she's like later on replied, and she was like, "No, I don't have Kiwi." Now you could actually check which friends you were connected with on Kiwi. I was connected with like over 800 people. I don't know about y'all, but way back in the day, it was just like the done and cool thing to have as many people on your Facebook as possible. So that's exactly what I did. Anyone who sent me a friend request, I would just add them without even thinking about it. So yeah, I searched for her name. She didn't have Kiwi. So I was like, okay, she's not lying. And the reason why I check is because we used to around with each other all the time, and we would like tell each other things, and we would go like days without saying anything, and the other one just believing that this thing was true. And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, we're joking." Like, it was just like kind of an inside thing that we would do with each other because we was both so gullible, but we would like kind of play off on each other, if you know what I mean. Nonetheless, it wasn't her. I'm thinking nothing of it. I'm just thinking this is like some, I don't know. I don't even know what to call them at this point, or what I was even thinking at this point, but I just thought that it was someone who just sent that because they thought that was funny or something. I don't know. Anyways, I go about my day. I'm thinking nothing of it. So yeah, I'm really not thinking anything of it at this point. I want to say that a good week goes by of them consistently sending me messages pertaining what they originally sent at least once a day, if not twice a day. And for the most part, I'm ignoring them. Like, I'm not responding to everything that they're sending over unless it's to tell them to go away. I must have responded like maybe twice, telling them to leave me alone and go away. Because now that they're doing this, I'm kind of putting the pieces together and thinking this is someone who's just trying to like, I don't know, like troll me or something. That was until, and I may need to paint some picture here. The friend that I mentioned a little while ago, Alicia, I actually would walk home from school with her. And the way that our houses were set up is that Alicia's house was here, and my house was on another street here. So if you imagine there's a street in between them that connects the two streets, that's how I would walk home. So I would drop off Alicia at the top of her street, and then I would walk down this other street and then get to my house. So I would walk down this other street and get to my street, my house, if that makes sense. Sorry if that's confusing to you guys. Anyways, so I walk home from school with Alicia. Everything's fine. I go back to my place just fine. That night, I'm on my socials, just, you know, winding down. I seen that I gotten another message from this mystery person. But this one was different to the messages that they had previously sent. Because here's where things just start getting progressively worse. So I remember this message, and it literally just said something along the lines of, "Next time you walk home from school with Alicia, I'm grabbing you when you're on your own."
Alright, dude. What the flip?
And I remember seeing that, and I just sat up in my bed, and I was just like, this isn't just some random person. Like, the puzzle pieces are coming together. Because for you to be able to name drop my friend, which they did, they said Alicia's name, for you to know both of us, for one, And then for you to also know that we walk home from school with each other tells me that you also attend the same school as us. So I wasn't feeling any kind of immediate threat from this. I was just thinking that someone who is just trying to like with me. It's not just a random person anymore. It's someone who knows me and someone who is in my school. So at this point, I'm not scared. At this point, I'm actually just irritated. Like, I'm annoyed that someone is doing this to me. So I respond to that, obviously calling them a creep, telling them to leave me alone, because what a weird thing to say. And I also let them know that I know that they go to school with me, because how else are they going to know Alicia's name? And I know for certain they was trying to be creepy on purpose, because after I responded to this, they written back to me again and said, I'm going to grab you and tickle you, like he. So when I got their second message and I looked at it, I was just like that was literally my reaction. Obviously other people, like my friends, saw this. They was also messaging me on Kiwi so that I could respond to it and it would appear like on my page, and they was just saying things like, whoever's sending Timothy like weird messages like this, you need to f***ing stop, like that's weird. And I was just like, no, like seriously, this is someone who goes to school with us. And they was like, yeah, I know, wait until you find out who it is. Because my school was rough, y'all. Like, I mean, if you got caught doing weird shit like this, you were going to be victimized. So when I go back to school, and bear in mind, I didn't have beef like this. For the most part, I was just friendly with just about everybody. But there was a few weird bitches who I knew didn't like me. And if there was anyone who was doing weird things like this, it was going to be them. Specifically this one girl, and we're going to call her Stink. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I thought it was her and why so many people thought this was her too. I don't know if your guys' school had a thing called a gossip girl, but I remember when the gossip girl thing was trending. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically someone would set up like a fake Instagram page and they would call it gossip girl and then like your school's name, and they would just post rumors about people. Like people would literally submit rumors about other people or just nasty things about other people to the gossip girl account, and then the gossip girl account would post it and like everyone from the school would see it, or everyone in that specific year group would see it if like, you know, they're targeting people in that specific like year group. So anyways, Stink was actually caught running a gossip girl account, and I mean like some of the shit that she was posting was so bad that our school ended up involving the police, and she was caught through that. And I remember going to like the student support officer's office with like, we would go in like big groups and we'd be like, have you got an update about the gossip girl account? And I remember one day the student support officer was just like, oh yeah, we've narrowed it down to like this specific area. And we was just like, who lives in that area? And there was like quite a few people, and we was all suspecting Stink, because out of all the people who lived in that area, she was just the kind of person who would do something like this. Like she had done messy shit before this, before the whole gossip girl thing. She had done like messy shit before this. So we were all suspecting her anyway. It actually turned out that it was her. She was the one who was running the gossip girl account. So like, sorry for sidetracking there, but that's the reason I thought that it was Stink. So I was kind of looking at her and I was just like, Like, I wasn't fully thinking that it was her, but I was just like, if anyone would do something like this, it would be you. And she did post about me on that Gossip Girl account too. Like, it was nothing like a rumor. It was just like something nasty. I didn't have any rumors about me at this point in high school anyway. Luckily, oh my god. But I remember she posted and she was just like, oh yeah, Timothy has like fake tits and she wears like the ass shorts to like give her more of an ass. And I was like, that is just not true at all. Anyway, but she did post that about me and I was just like, if this is you who's playing around with me now, I still haven't got my lick back from what you posted about me on that Gossip Girl account. I am going to smack you extra hard if it's you. Like, oh my god. I remember just thinking that. I was like, if this bitch is seriously doing this to me, I am going to rock her shit, y'all. Oh my god. But even with me having like the sneaking suspicion that it could possibly be her, and other people coming over to me and like planting the seed that it's her and just being like, oh my god, do you think it stink? Do you think it stink? I didn't fully think that it was her for this specific reason, because like I said, Stink lived in a specific area that was nowhere near where we would like, you know, walk home. She didn't even walk home. She got on the bus and it would go in the complete opposite direction. So a part of me is just like, I don't think Stink is doing this. And obviously I'm not just going to approach someone on like baseless accusations even when I was 15 years old. So I was just like, I'm just gonna keep you in my mind up here. So yeah, for that reason, I didn't like fully think that it was her. And even like with people coming over to me and asking if I thought it was Stink, I was just like, nah, because of like, she wouldn't know where our houses are. Like she wouldn't know how we get home from school with each other because she goes the complete opposite way. So yeah, but still I wasn't like fully sold. I think I was just being a bit biased because of the Gossip Girl, whatever, but like we're not here to talk about that. But yeah, I just left it at that with her without me approaching her, questioning her on like, you know, baseless accusations. And from what I said earlier, it didn't fully make sense for it to be Stink. So now maybe 2-3 days maximum go by and I'm still getting, you know, the regular messages that I was receiving prior. I'm going to grab you and tickle you. I'm going to get you and tickle you, blah, blah, blah. You get the deal by now. I'm sat with my friends. It's a break time at school. And we're literally just sat at the benches outside. We're just talking about, you know, all kinds of random stuff, you know, how girls chat with each other. And we bring up the whole weird Kiwi situation. And I'm like, I have my phone like this and I'm scrolling through the messages that I had been getting from this mystery person and then the other ones that I didn't respond to that was in my inbox. And y'all, I shit you not, at this exact moment, I get another message come through as I have the phone pointed to my friends and their reactions were just like, what the fuck? So I flipped the phone back to myself and another message had just came through, guys. And it said, I want to tickle you, and listed 4 of my other friends by name. Alicia was one of them. So I was sat with 2 of the 4 girls who had just been mentioned in that message that they sent over to me. And then the other 2 girls, I was friends with them, but they wasn't in like my like regular friendship group, if that makes sense. Like they would hang out with other people, but they were in my next class. So I'm showing it to them and I'm like, we're just all like, what the fuck? Y'all, that's what we talk about all lesson. We're just like, did you see anyone on their phone when you was outside? Like obviously everyone is on their phone at break time. Everyone is on their phone. Like, you know, and we're just thinking like, who could this be? We're like riling each other up, you know, like psyching each other up and stuff. Like, oh my God, when we find out who this is. At this point, I'm still thinking that it's a girl, but I don't think that it's Stink. Again, I don't think that it's her. But now for definite, I know for certain, I know without any reasonable doubt, beyond any reasonable doubt, that it is someone in this school. Because how can you just go ahead and name drop people like that if you do not attend this school? So when I replied to their message, I'm just like, are you not bored yet? And I remember they responded that night and they was just like, I could never get bored of you. I can't stop thinking about tickling your feet. Ew! And I just want to say, y'all, at this point when I was 15, I had no idea that people had like feet interests, if you will. I don't really want to say that word on here, but I wasn't aware that people had like interests, like actual interests like that. So I'm not thinking this is someone with a foot interest. I'm thinking this is someone who's just messing with me. Like I'm thinking this is someone who's just trying to play around and troll me, but they also go to my school, so it's more personal. So I don't, and before anyone asks me in the comment section like, oh my God, didn't you tell like your parents about this? No. The way that my parents, especially my mum's ex-wife at the time, the way that she would have resolved this is to just take away my phone or take away my socials, because I just know she wanted that damn phone so bad. Like she would do anything to try and get my phone out of my hands. She'd do anything to try and get me like banned from social media. She would do anything to try and do that just because she was a bitch. But yeah, this would have definitely fueled the fire for her to just be like, well, you're not being on like social medias anymore, and I obviously didn't want that. And can I just remind y'all that at this point I'm not scared. I'm not scared of this person who's doing this. I don't feel like there's any kind of threat. I just feel like it's someone who's trying to annoy me and someone who's messing around with me for like, I don't know what kind of purposes, but they was just trying to irritate me on purpose. And I don't even feel like I need to state the obvious to you guys, but like obviously I keep getting messages from them and it's still just the same like weird, creepy shit. And yeah, I don't think I mentioned this before, but like I would go days without responding to them because like I didn't really care to respond to them, and they would literally send me like little messages that was just like,
don't ignore me, answer me, why aren't you replying, why are you ignoring me?
You know, and I was just, I used to just sit there like, why are you acting like I owe you something? Like, why are you acting like we're friends or something? Why are you acting like I need to give you any kind of response at all? Like, you know. Now, I want to say this next part takes place about a fortnight after the last name dropping situation happened. Just to paint the picture for what I'm going to go on and tell you, that day at school at lunchtime, it wasn't just me and all of my like usual friends that I would sit at lunch with. We was also joined by another boy, and we're gonna call him Oscar. We're gonna call him Oscar. Just to give you guys kind of a background on Oscar, I don't want to get too deep into it because it's really not my place to say all the different diagnoses that, or I don't even know how to say that word, diagnoses that Oscar had. But let's just say Oscar was pretty sick for a while, and he had not long, you know, left hospital and being allowed to return back to school. So we're all just catching up with Oscar, and Oscar is friendly with everybody. Like, everybody liked Oscar. He couldn't harm a fly. And there would be a few occasions that I would like FaceTime Oscar and we would just like sit and talk with each other and stuff, just about random things. If I'm being completely honest, Oscar was like just one of the girls. We would go out with each other sometimes, like us all as like friends. And he would go out with like other people and other girls from the school as well, and he was just all around like just a nice guy, you know. With all that being said, y'all can understand that Oscar definitely had his own challenges. So tell me why that night when I go on QE, I don't just have the creepy, weird messages from this person, I also have the most disgusting message. I'm not even going to bother to try and abbreviate this message for you guys because it really was just, and still is, just that disgusting to even think about, that someone would even say these certain things about someone who is going through such a struggle and using horrible ableist words against them when they're at a very low point in their life is just absolutely beyond me. Just to absolutely narrow this down for you all, this anonymous person was asking why the fuck I was sitting with Oscar at lunch, and then proceeded to call him all kinds of ableist slurs, and then go on to say that they're going to set his shed on fire. And the shed that they was referring to in Oscar's garden wasn't actually a shed, it was more of a like summer house. Usually when I would FaceTime Oscar, he would be sat in there was like a futon in there, TV, and he also had some pets that lived in there as well. He had like 2 parrots, I'm pretty sure, from memory. So when I replied to them in the midst of me cussing them out, I also reiterate to them again that I know it's someone who's at our school saying this, and they basically may as well just leave school now because we will find out who they are. So I send a screenshot of this over to Oscar, and I just, you know, let him know this is definitely someone from our school. I'm not thinking at all that this person's actually going to go ahead and set his summer house on fire. It is just someone who's been harassing me for like weeks at this point. So after I send this over to Oscar, I'm pretty sure this was like later that night, we actually do FaceTime each other. And while we're on FaceTime, this is one of the first things he does bring up. And he's just like, you know what I find really, really weird? The fact that someone has threatened to set my summer house on fire. When he had been to like check around the summer house, someone had been and like dumped a ton of like rubbish outside in the alleyway leading up to his back garden. And the way that the alleyways was kind of like situated is that you would have like an alleyway kind of leading up to the gate to your back garden, and you just wouldn't go, you just like wouldn't go down there unless you was going to your own back garden, if that makes sense. So as he's telling me all of this, he's also letting me know that some of the rubbish that had just been like dumped outside of his back gate looks like it has been like partially burned, like someone has like held a lighter up to it and like just dropped it there. So at this point while we're on FaceTime, I'm just like, do you think like we should like go to the police or something, because this is just, it's gone beyond the point that you're just sending like weird messages like trying to freak me out. I know you go to my school, I know that you're just another student, but like you're going outside someone's house and like lighting things on fire after you just threatened to set part of their property on fire. Like, it just, something about that didn't sit right with me. So I'm telling Oscar this. I'm just like, I think that we should like maybe go to the support officer in our school and tell them about this. And he was just like, no, don't, like, it's just going to make my parents worry and stuff. And then in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, my parents are going to blame me for like not mentioning this sooner. So at this point, I'm kind of pushing. I'm like, no, I feel like we need to kind of do something, because someone's actually just came outside of your property and dumped partially burned garbage. And he was just like, no, I don't really want to like worry my parents or anything. I was just like, you at least need to mention this like to your parents just in case something happens, and they, you know, they at least know where this is like stemmed from. So at this point, we're just kind of brainstorming, and I'm just like, Oscar, do you know anyone who knows where you live and who doesn't like you? And he was just like, well, not really, like everyone kind of knows where I live. Like a lot of people in our year group did know where Oscar lived. A lot of people in our year group knew where I lived. At this point, I was just like, look, I think it would be a good idea for you to like kind of casually mention this to your parents without like giving them all of the details, just so they kind of know what's going on, but in a way that they're not going to like worry. If you just kind of mention to them that it's someone who's like, you know, in our school who's leaving people weird messages, and they said that they're going to set your summer house on fire, and they've also just dumped like partially burned garbage outside your back gate. At least like, I don't know, like your dad could put like a security camera or something out there. And yeah, we did come to the mutual agreement that that's what he would do. I don't know if he actually did that or if he just said that so I would stop like worrying. But yeah, that's where we kind of left off with Oscar. So over like the coming days, I did check in on Oscar, you know, just to make sure that he was okay and like nothing else had happened and nothing else had popped up and anything like that. And he would just like let me know that like, you know, nothing else has happened. It's just been like radio silence on his end. So I was like, okay, no news is good news. Hopefully they'll just leave like Oscar alone. And it seemed like they did. So like he would be asking me like, are they still sending you messages and stuff like that? And I would be like, yeah, like they don't include anyone else. So they're just like sending me like, you know, just the standard weird creepy messages that they've been sending. So as far as I was aware, like everything with Oscar was just back to normal, which was like, alright, so now we're jumping ahead to that weekend, and I had plans to go to my friend's house. This is like a different friend. She doesn't really need a name because she doesn't pop up into, you know, any other areas of the story. So nonetheless, I was going to her house that weekend and I was staying over at her place. So, you know, everything's going fine. We're kiki ha-haing, everything's good. I'm still getting the weird messages. I'm just ignoring them. Everything's fine. Sunday comes, I go home. Tell me why. About an hour after I had gotten home, I get another message from this anonymous person, and it just says, I like that top you wore today. Excuse me? So when I see this message, I'm just like retracing my steps that I took to get to my friend's house. And I'm just like, I walked past so many houses. The way that I would walk to get to her house would be like, I would walk down this really long road, and then I would turn right, and then I would turn left up a different road, and then I would turn left again for a short while, and then I would get to her house. So somewhere in between my house and her house is where this person who has been sending me all of this shit lives. And I had so many friends who lived in that area, and I knew so many people from my school who also lived in that area. I mean, of course we're all going to live close by to the school, but I'm just thinking like, is there anyone that I know that doesn't like me who lives in this area? And I couldn't put my finger on it. So yeah, I remember getting that message and I just didn't even reply. I was like, I'm not even going to entertain this person anymore. Maybe if I just don't respond to them at all, no matter what they say, they'll just leave me alone, right? So I'm just gonna fast forward a couple of weeks to where we conclude this story. So they're obviously, like I said, sending me messages on the daily, multiple times a day, need I mind you, multiple messages every single day, and I didn't reply to any one of them. Because at this point I'm just thinking, if I just ignore them, maybe they'll just get bored. But consistently over this 2 weeks, I am just receiving message after message, name drop after name drop. I'm not speaking about it in school anymore, apart from like to a couple of close friends, because I didn't want this to get spread any further than what it had, and I just wanted it to die down. I wanted to see if this person would truly just go away and leave me alone if I just stopped responding to them. So at this point, I'm waking up for school, and I remember specifically it's a Monday, and as usual, I go on my phone, I check my socials, I'm stirring myself awake. I go on Kiwi, I have yet more messages from this anonymous person, apart from one. Now, this message was different in a couple different ways. Number one would be the context of the message. This message, and I'm going to try and abbreviate this because just a content warning again here, this part of the story does contain threats of SA. So as I'm reading the message, it says, I am going to drag you through the woods and grape you after school. Grape without the G. But another interesting thing about this message is that it's not only just disgusting and disturbing, it also hasn't been sent anonymously. So I had gotten multiple messages that morning, and they were all anonymous, all along the same lines, except for one. So I could see this person's full name, and we're gonna call them Creep. And the messages just seem to have stopped there. It's almost like the person realized that they may have sent this without hitting the button to send the message. The fuck? It's almost like this person may have realized that they might not have hit the option to send the message anonymously. So what do I do exactly? I go on my Facebook, I search for this person's name, and I go to their profile, and it's Creep's profile. And immediately at looking at Creep's profile, I noticed that I had never spoken or seen Creep in my entire life. But I go to like their, like the bio section, and they do go to the same school as me. So I'm just like, okay, this person clearly hangs around in a very different circle than what I hang out in. So I'm just like, how interesting. I knew this day would come. I knew I would find out exactly who this person is. So I go over and I message them, which I find quite stupid now. I find like a lot of my behavior, and you'll find this in like future story times, I find like a lot of my behavior when I was younger to be quite stupid, because if this was me now, I would have never messaged them. But I sent him a message and I was just like, I know it's you who's been sending me all of this weird shit over on Kiwi. Wait until I see you in school today. Everyone's gonna know it's you. Timothy, why would you do that? Because now I wouldn't have said, if this happened to, if this was to have happened to me like with the same mindset that I have now, I just wouldn't have said anything at all. Like I would have just waited, found them while I was in school and confronted them about it. But silly old me, I send them a message, letting them know I know exactly who they are. I know that they've been doing this for like almost 2 months. They've been sending me all this weird shit. And I'm going to find them when they're in school. Cutting forward, I'm getting ready for school. I'm fucking heated. I'm walking to school so fast. I'm surprised that the soles of my shoes didn't melt off into the pavement because of the sheer speed that I was walking at. I get in school, I sit through first period, and this is like literally all I can think about. I'm talking about this with my friends, like, no way is it actually him and stuff. Like, I'm asking them, like, do you know who he hangs around with and stuff? No one really knows who he is. Like, this is just like a mystery person. Like, Creep was just like truly just like I don't know, like a background character. Like, I'm so sorry to say that, but we literally did not know who he was. So I'm sitting through first period with my friends, and we're just like talking about it, like, oh my god, I can't believe it's actually him and stuff. Like, a couple of my friends did know who Creep was. Like, they knew of him, but they didn't like personally know him. Like, they had seen him around school, but they didn't like personally know him or had ever spoken to him. So I was just like, what the fuck, like, oh my god, I can't believe it's actually like we found who it is. So we get to our first break. By then I had already asked around my class, and I was like, does anyone know who Creep is? And most people was like, no, I've never heard of him. Like, I was giving like the first and last name, and I get to a couple of people and like, yeah, like he hangs around with so-and-so. And I knew who Creep's friends were after other people had confirmed with me who he hangs around with. So break time comes. Me and my friends are looking around for Creep. We're asking everybody, like, have you seen Creep? Have you seen Creep? Have you seen Creep? People are like, no. Like, we're giving first and last name, like, okay, have you seen his friends? We didn't find Creep. but we did find his friends. And I, by the way, guys, was so shocked to find out that these two boys were Creep's friends, because I had some classes with these boys and they just seemed like the most regular, nice boys ever. And like, the thing is, I was just thinking, like, how can someone so sick and twisted be friends with people like this? You know, I would expect you to be friends with other people with like minds to yourself. But like, I had actually done like some like projects with these two other people who were Creep's friends. And they was just like nice, polite, a little bit shy. I would not have expected Creep to be hanging around with people who were like this, just like normal, nice people. And that's like not a dig against these other people, obviously. It's a big dig on Creep. But I was just like, what the fuck are y'all doing hanging around with a psycho like this? Like, oh my god. So I go over to them, obviously on some like non-confrontational grounds, and I'm just like, hey, is Creep at school today? And they're just like, oh
No, he's not at school today.
And I was like, right, I'm gonna tell you this because I really need to find him, because he's been sending me things on Kiwi. And I'm like showing them my phone, showing them all the kinds of things that he's been sending me. And of course, finally, the message he had sent me that morning. I want to tell you that these boys are like genuinely shocked. They're just like, what the fuck? I can't believe like Creep would actually send you something like that. And I was just like, yeah, like, do you know where he lives? Sorry guys, I think I jumped ahead a little bit here. But when I was going around my class and asking people if they knew Creep, the person who told me who Creep's friends were, I also asked them if they knew where he lived. And they had told me that they knew the street that he lived on, but not like the house number. So anyways, as I'm talking to Creep's friends and giving them the rundown as to what their friend has been up to over these past almost 2 months, I'm like, do you know like where he lives? And they're just like, they kind of look at each other. And like, bear in mind, I'm like stood with like all of my friends. It's like me and 5 other girls are just standing there like pissed off. Again, we're not being like confrontational to them, but they kind of like look at each other and then like they look at me, and I'm just thinking, sweetheart, if you don't want to see me at school, you must want to see me outside of your house. Because this shit that you have been sending to me is fucked up, darling. There is no way I'm letting this slide. There is no way I'm letting this slide. There is no way I am letting this slide. So they kind of look at each other and they look at me, and I'm just like, look, just give me like his house number if you have his house number. And they give me his house number. So I'm like, okay, he lives on X street, right? And they're just like, they like nod their head, and I'm just like, yeah. I was like, I'm going over to his house. And they was just
like, honestly, I don't really blame you, because like that shit is fucked up.
And I was just like, tell me about it. I've been having to deal with this shit at this point for 2 months, guys. We and my friends have been talking about this all day. We're telling anybody who's gotten here, we're just like, yeah, we're gonna go over to his house tonight. It seems he wants to name drop us too. But yeah, we're just like banding together. We're just like, we're actually going to pull up to his house after school. I just want to see what he had to say to my face, you know? And then we're telling like the other boys in our classes what's going on, and they're like, oh,
well, we'll come too. We'll come too.
Like, I don't know who the f he's sending that kind of shit to, you know, like, you know what boys are like when they think they're hard or whatever. But anyways, the school day ends and we are now walking to Creep's house. And I'm talking like we're 12 people deep walking to his house. Like, we are all going to Creep's house. So eventually we get to Creep's street and we find Creep's house. And just to give y'all an accurate description as to what Creep's house looks like, that shit was fucking tore up to the floor up. I'm talking, this house was just nasty, okay? That this house was disgusting. Like, we get outside of his house and there's like a sofa and like an old TV like scattered in his front garden. It smelled like shit when you walked onto the property. Like, to be quite honest with you guys, like, I'm not even exaggerating here, it literally was disgusting. From outside their house, you could see that they didn't have like any curtains or blinds. Instead, they had like bed sheets and towels like hung up in their window. And I never understand why people do this. Like, you know, when people have like filthy houses where they just like hang up bed sheets and stuff like that. Sweetheart, you go to any charity shop, you go to any thrift or charity shop, and you can find a pair of curtains for cheap too, so you don't have to hang up your fucking Manchester United bath towel in your bedroom window. Like, I'm talking this shit was tore up. Like, this house was disgusting, okay? So I knock at the door. No answer. But I see, like, shadows shifting inside. So I knock again. And someone answers the door. It's Creep's older brother. And I wasn't trying to be on, like, rude shit to people who had done nothing to me. Even if you are Creep's brother, you know? Like, you're still not Creep at the end of the day. So I was just like, oh, like, is Creep home? And he was just like,
no, like, he's not home today.
Guys, immediately after he said this, tell me why one of my friends in the back was like, yes, he is, I just saw him move the curtain. or should I say, move the bedsheet, because there wasn't no curtain. So I just looked back at him after my friend said this. I was just like, and he was like,
oh yeah, but he is home, but he's not very well. He's like, he's not coming out because he's sick.
I was like, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I don't care if he's sick.
You know what? I'm about to say it. Okay, so I don't care that you broke your elbow.
I was like, he has been sending me, and I didn't even get to finish my sentence because the way that he hopped in, and he was just like,
well, he hasn't been sending you anything. He hasn't been sending you anything at all.
And I was just like, at this point, I knew that he knew why his brother wasn't at school, because his brother, Creep, would have told him that he's not going to school today because he's been harassing people online. He's been cyber stalking people. So I'm just like, okay, so Creep hasn't been sending me anything over these past 2 months. He just sent me that message this morning saying that he was going to grape me. And he's like,
no, he hasn't been sending you anything. Like, his account must have been hacked.
I was like, no, it hasn't. Like, it's obviously been him who's been doing this all along. Like, I'm not fucking stupid. Like, what does it, like, I just came over here with, like, idiot painting on my forehead. Like, what do you think this is, sweetheart? Like, he really could have thought of anything else, but he went straight for the, oh, he's been hacked theory. Sweetheart, your brother has been harassing me for 2 months. I know it's your brother. Bring him outside. So as he's like going on, we're like going back and forth with each other. Like, he's basically just shouting over me this whole time. Just talking over me, shouting over me. I'm just tired of it, y'all. I kind of move him out of the way in the doorway and I just shout, Creep! Like, come downstairs now! Like I'm his mother or something. And y'all, the way that he pushed me back and slammed the door in my face so fast is unbelievable. I was like, I'm not leaving until Creep comes outside. So after his brother closes the door in my face, I'm still stood there knocking at the door. I'm not leaving. Knocking at the door. I know you're both home. I know you're home, Creep. It's not so nice when someone comes and harasses you, is it? So I go back over with my friends. We're basically just stood outside his house. Must have been standing there for like 15 minutes. Like, some people had just left and it was just like, he's not gonna come out. Like, there's no way he's gonna come out when there's like so many people outside. So they left and there was just like me and a few of my friends there. There was Alicia and like a couple of other girls who were stood there and like a couple of other guys. And we are just talking the most shit about Creep, like going on his Facebook page, looking at his pictures, and we are talking loud, y'all, so that he can hear us through his bedroom window. We are talking loud about him. So we're just all talking shit about him, right? And in the midst of us all talking with each other, all of a sudden one of my friends is just like, that's his mum. So we all turn around and we're just like, you know, we're, again, very polite. So I'm just like, hi, are you Creep's mum? And she's like, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am, yeah. And she must have just like gotten home from work. Like, she did not need this shit. Like, she had a little work hat on. She did not need this mess. But her going on to do what she does and say what she says, I feel no remorse here. So I'm just like, oh yeah, like, I'm Timothy. Immediately her face drops, guys, and she gets so defensive and she's just like, my son hasn't been sending you anything on Facebook. Huh? Like, ARF? What? So I'm just like, clearly you know your son has been sending me things. If you straight off the bat of me saying my name, then go on to say, my son hasn't been sending you anything. So I was just like, yeah, your son hasn't been sending me anything on Facebook, but he's been sending me messages on Kiwi, letting me know that he's going to tickle me, letting me know that he's going to touch me and my friends, letting me know that he's going to grape me after school. Like, is there anything that you have to say about that? And she was like, my son hasn't said anything like that. How do you know it's him? How do you know it's him? As if to go on to say like, oh yeah, I know that all of these messages were sent anonymously. And I was like, the reason why I know it's him is because he stupidly sent me a message this morning telling me that he was going to grape me after school, drag me off into the woods and grape me after school. And he sent that stupidly without hiding his name. So that's how I know it's your son. That's why I pulled up outside of your house. Y'all, when I tell you she's just like, well, he's been hacked, you don't know that it's him who's been sending you this, and she's just going back and forth with me, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm just like, I know it's your son. What more do I have to say to you? I'm like, look at this. And she's like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I'm not looking at that. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just like, okay, you don't want to look at my phone because then you would have to admit that you've seen your son's name sending me a message this morning saying that he was going to grape me. So which one is it? Is it your son? Has he been hacked? Like, you know, like, I know your son has been harassing me for 2 months. What is not ticking? So obviously my friends are behind me. They're going off too, telling her like, you know damn well like that's your son who's been sending her that shit. Like, oh my God, y'all. Oh my God. This was one of the most frustrating situations that at this time in my life I had ever been in. So I'm just like, why don't you get your son out of this house and let him speak for himself? And she was like, well, my son is sick. My friend, I'll never forget this. My friend, she was like stood, like pinned to the side of me. I don't know if I mentioned this when I was telling y'all about the interaction I had with Creep's brother, but he was like, and I am as well, like I'm sick too. And when she said this, like, oh, he's sick, he's not very well, my friend was just like, yeah, all your kids are sick, aren't they? Like, Jesus Christ, what you've been feeding them.
And
The way this woman's face just froze. And she was just like, all of you better leave right now or I'm calling the police. I was like, then call them. I would love to tell them about the 2 months of harassment your son has put me through and him threatening to grape me and him also threatening to damage my friend's property and perhaps even going as far to go over to his house and leave partially burned garbage outside his back gate. I would love for you to call the police right now, actually. And she's like, you just need to go, all of you need to go. And she's like screaming at us, we're screaming back at her, like, get your fucking son out of this house. Like, we're all crazy. God, at least one of my friends had the sense to just be like, Timothy, let's just go, he's not gonna come out this house. I was just like, you know what, you're right. I was like, you and your grapey son, have fun. I don't know what y'all have been doing in that house, but clearly it's left something up here, you know? Anyway, so we walk off, we go. I am so glad that my friend was there to just talk some sense to the situation, because the way that we was all going off at this bitch, I mean, like, and the way that she was screaming back at us, y'all, when I tell you I was this close to just scalping her is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So this brings us to the end of today's story time, guys. Hey y'all, it's Editing Timothy. So I just wanted to come on here and get the chance to add in a few things because I got cut short the other day when I was filming, as I had plans to attend to, but none of you want to hear about that. I know that y'all are gonna have your questions about the story, and I just wanted to say a few things here, just to potentially answer them. Of course, if you have any more questions, you can comment them down below and I can see that I answer them. But first being, I literally never found out the reason why, or if there even was a reason for Creep doing this to me, like sending me all those disgusting weird messages, because as far as I'm aware, I was the only one who was receiving messages from him. Like, I don't know why he specifically targeted me to do that. Like I said in the video, When I saw Creep's profile picture on Facebook, I literally had no idea who he was. I did know his 2 friends that was in some classes with me, but other than that, I literally didn't know him. I had no issue with him. I've never had any beef with him or his friends, nothing like that. Like, so I don't know why I was the one who was specifically targeted, because, you know, I did ask around school, like when I was telling people about like the weird messages that I've been getting, like people coming over like, oh my god, what are you talking about, like what's happening, and I would give them like the rundown. Not one of those people told me like, oh yeah, like I've been receiving messages like that as well, or like, oh, so and so's been receiving messages like that too. As far as I'm aware, it was just me who he was sending this shit to, and I still don't know why. I mean, like, there would not be an excuse on this earth to send someone messages like that in the first place, but I would be more understanding if me and him had like issues with each other, you know? Like, I wasn't getting it. I also just wanted to highlight how disgusting his mother acted during this whole thing. Like, I know at this point in my life, I was like 15 years old. I was still a child. He was still a child. My friends were still children. We was literally just teenagers. But the way that his mother acted at her big age when I came to his house and I politely told her who I was and, you know, was going to go on to tell her exactly what her son had been sending me and what her son had been doing, and the way that she shut me down, and she was so rude and defensive to me, like, it was actually like, it's concerning to think about, because like I know that I don't have any kids, you know, and I certainly don't have any, you know, any son who's 15 years old, but if I was to have a son or daughter who was sending people like disgusting things like that, like telling them that they're going to, you know, grape them and SA them, and telling them that they're going to set people's property on fire, it's just like, hold up, you know, like, how can you stand there like as a fully grown woman, as a fully grown mother, and defend behavior like that? It really does just make me worry. Like, if I ever had a son act like that, there is no way in hell I would let a girl, or like, you know, it was a group of girls at this point, but you get the picture. There is no way that I would let a girl stand outside of my house trying to tell me all of the vile shit that my son had been sending her, and just defend him and him not face any kind of consequences. In fact, to protect him further, actually not make him go to school that day so he didn't have to face the music, you know? There is no way that as a mother I would ever condone behavior like that. That is absolutely disgusting, because the way that I would tell my son to come outside and at least apologize to that poor girl for what he has put her through for almost 2 months. And then after that, you would be going to some kind of therapy. Like, there is no way that saying things like that to someone, like, especially with the SA things and the, you know, just with everything, really, just with absolutely everything, there is no way that it is normal. There is no way that it is normal for someone to continuously send those kind of messages to someone and clearly get some kind of rise out of it, because you didn't stop until he was caught. All right, I think he would have kept it going on. There is no way that that is normal behavior, and it's actually quite worrying. And I'm not just saying this, I wouldn't be shocked if I was to see his face on an article one day and he had done something absolutely horrible to someone, or he's being arrested for having things on his computer that he shouldn't have, guys. And you know exactly what I mean by that, because there is no way that that behavior is normal. How are you not concerned, you know? Like, I know that you would like protect your kids and whatever, but you know, there must be a line drawn somewhere. And it clearly there wasn't one for, you know, threatening to grape a girl, being disgustingly ableist towards someone who is disabled, and threatening to set their property on fire, and potentially even going there and, you know, littering outside their property to intimidate them further. Something just doesn't sit right with me about that, you know? I don't know what it is. I think that some of y'all are probably going to be wondering, well, what happened to Creep after? Because you said that your school was crazy or whatever. Look, I couldn't tell you what happened to Creep after. As far as I remember, I don't recall seeing him at any point going forward at school ever. So I don't know if he was taken out of the school by his mum and like put somewhere else so that people didn't beat the shit out of him, or if he just laid really low and like before I just didn't notice him. And yeah, like I just couldn't tell you what happened to him afterwards. I don't know where he went. I did not see him after that occasion at all. Like, the more and more that I think about it, I really do think that he was taken out of the school by his parents, because the way that our school was is that if people knew that you had beef with somebody, or like in Creep's situation, he really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Like, it wasn't just me who was mentioned in those creepy messages. It was my friends. It was, what did we call him? It was Oscar. Like, people are going to have problems with that, you know, not even just the people who are directly involved, but people who, like, we're friends with, or people who, like, Oscar is friends with, and, you know, just people who just want to give him, like, their 2 cents. They would definitely be going over to him, and I know for a fact people would be calling me over, being like, oh, Timothy, look, you know, Creep's here, like, say something to him now since he didn't want to come outside or whatever. Like, people had problems with him. People would have had problems with him, issues with him, if he was in that school, and I definitely would have been one of the first people to hear about it because of the whole situation. I truly do think that he never came back to school. I don't think he ever returned to school, and I can't even like go on his like Facebook profile or anything, because when I search for his name, it just, nothing comes up for him. So I don't know if he's just like off of socials, or if he like blocked me from social media or whatever. I have no idea, guys, but regardless, I don't know what came of him afterwards, but I really hope that he has like grown as a person, because I wouldn't count that behavior as being human at all. But like, I really do hope that he's grown and realized that that kind of behavior is wrong, and didn't go on to repeat those same actions, or worse, you know. And I just want y'all to tell me as well, like, what would you do in this situation? I know that at some points in the story I definitely reflected, and I was just like, okay, like, obviously I was 15 years old, I'm going to take things very differently, you know. Me being like 24, there is no way that I would respond to messages like that in the first place, so I don't really think that someone would be able to progress like that with me anymore. I just remember that I would get so like riled up and angry about things when I was younger, but yeah, I've definitely changed in that sense. Yeah, when I was 15, I would take things so personally. I think that's the same with like basically any teenager. I mean, like, y'all fight for anything really. I was the same, but yeah, I definitely would like to ask y'all, like, what would you do in this situation? Like, would you tell like your parents? Would you tell your teachers? Would you involve the police? Would you beat the fuck out of him? Would you, I don't know, like, what would you do? Tell me what you would do in this situation. But anyways, that's enough for me. I hope y'all enjoyed this story time. If you like this story time and you want to see some more of me, please let me know in the comment sections down below. Don't forget to go and follow me over on my other social medias. They are linked in the description box below. If you like this video, leave a like, and if you'd like to, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. As I said way earlier in this video, I do like to let y'all vote on story times that I tell over on my Instagram, so definitely make sure you go ahead and follow me on there so that y'all can also get the chance to vote on the next story. I would like to do story times maybe like twice a month, because I have like a good 24 years of tea in me. And if there's nothing that the trauma hasn't taught me, is that I can just turn it into a story time and share it with you guys. Anyway, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, love ya. Mwah!